Mr. Chairman. Tom, thank you very much for giving us a great example of what a filibuster is. Let me ask you a couple of questions. You referenced my father's bill in 1984, 501, House Bill 501. The ponds, the evaporation pits that were being used. The industry claimed that there would be, along with the Chamber of Commerce, claimed that there would be an advent of 200,000 jobs because of the drilling of the Marcellus and Utica Shale. And now, because of what you just mentioned, as a matter of fact, you just mentioned in Washington County where the individuals drilled their vertical well, that we're finding out now that because of an injection well there, the safe area of the state, according to the ODNR and the industry, we now have valid proof that there are earthquakes in that section of the state. Are you aware of what's going on there, A, and then B, with the fact that you needed to be brought to the legislature because of 501, because the industry was in fact just dumping the brine, so-called brine, and the chemicals in these ponds. Why should we trust you now?
I was there when 501 was done. And, I was younger than you. And the area I was referencing was Washington County, Pennsylvania.
That would be my next question.
The disposal wells that are commercially operating inside Washington County are not operating at basement levels. In fact, they're operating in a very common formation in Clinton Sandstone, which is 3,000 feet from the base of the province. Nobody is, I think, tempted to make a link that whatever earthquake happened in Washington County, Ohio, is related to the UIC wells beyond the circumstantial evidence that UIC wells are there and an earthquake happened. Earthquakes happen all the time, and I think the department has not made a conclusion that it's related to UIC activity. I have felt earthquakes in Fairfield County, not too far away. I witnessed that in my time. I'm not sure why I would expect you to believe me, except that you and I have known each other for 20 years, and I think my reputation as a General Assembly is sterling. Other than that,
Mr. Chairman, I'm not talking about personal. I'm talking about the industry.
You don't have to believe it, or you don't have to believe the industry. I will point to the statistics of Class 2 injection across the state of Ohio and across the United States, which I referred to in my testimony. The overwhelming evidence is that it's safe, and actually it's the preferred method in the landmark federal laws. I think 501 was badly needed. It was a traumatic event for industry at that time. You talked about your dad, we'll talk about my dad. He grew up in the 40s and 50s in the oil and gas industry. He didn't like 501, and my response to him, as I was well intending for him, was, you can't put water in pits. Look what you're doing. I think 501 was badly needed. And the solution to the issue was the proper way. Use UIC, use Class 2 to manage that stream. The industry has complied and made a very effective and efficient way of using it. And that's been the history since 1985 when the law became part of the books.
Yep. And I appreciate that. My point was the industry does not initiate these type of actions. They are always dragged kicking and screaming to the legislative process.
In fact, I was at the lead in doing Senate Bill 165, and I take a lot of pride in how that was crafted underneath Senate Pro Tem Tom Niehaus and under Dave Hall over in the Ohio House. Senate Bill 165. Those people who are familiar with regulatory policy across the United States consider 165 to be the most significant amendment to oil and gas law in the 33 producing states, and very forward-leaning. And a stronger report and state review process that came in after 165 was put in place back that up. And that was signed off by the environmental community. We also had representatives on that review team who were opposed to 165 when it was being considered in the last General Assembly. And they didn't bring kicking or screaming me to the table to do 165. I was there at every step, trying to make that the best bill we possibly could, including doubling funding for the Oil and Gas Agency, including revising enforcement authority, including updating how we do well construction practices so that it meets the modern challenges. Frac disclosure was my idea, the state representative. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
One more question.
thank you. There seems to be some issue that was raised in the New York Times article relative to the 3-year moratorium that the New York Times had, but then it moved rather rapidly to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania now bars any injection into their wastewater treatment plants for A, the unknown chemicals in some cases, B, the possibility of radiation that is not being looked at, reviewed, and C, they have then decided that they have banned the use of that and the disposal of it in the wastewater treatment plants, and then they ship it to Ohio. Why would you not support the same moratorium that we're offering to at least find out what all those chemicals are doing to the people in the state of Ohio?
Sure. In the state of Pennsylvania, they don't have primacy for one thing. They also do not, their formations, because you move into the Appalachian geosyncline at a rate of about 75 feet dip per mile as you move down into the basin, everything in Pennsylvania is deeper, and if it's deeper, there's the potential for it to be tighter in permeability. There's only very few Class 2 wells that accept oil field brines in the state of Pennsylvania. One of them was done pursuant to a study by US EPA, as I found out last week. The solution in Pennsylvania then has been to use POTWs to compete with other industries who want to put their waste stream into rivers and streams. I personally oppose that. And I went to the Strickland administration, who issued the first POTW to the city of Warren, and said, don't do it. And I went to the Kasich administration that came in and said, don't do it. Because I know, to me, it's a political issue. One, the oil and gas industry over there was competing with all these other industries who all wanted to use the river as their sewer, legally. So that was causing stress. But I can sit here, I know I can't convince these people, but I know I can't convince you that you can clean that water till it's absolutely distilled, and I'm never going to convince you that it was a good thing to put that into a river stream, correct?
That's not correct at all. You can convince me, and the science convinces me that, in fact, it's clean.
I think we've got a ways to go on that. So, Chairman,
That's true.
what we're talking about here is POTWs, correct?
Correct.
Talking about POTWs. The state of Ohio doesn't allow that to happen, and they denied the permit of the one that existed in the state of Ohio. It doesn't benefit the Ohio industry, whether there's a POTW in Cleveland.
Mr. Chairman, the last thing here, Tom, is that the primacy issue is an important issue for the state of Ohio. We all understand that we relinquished that, the feds relinquished that back to us. The ODNR makes those decisions. But on the other hand, the fines and the requirements that they stay up to date are actually lower than the US EPA standards. They are the minimum of the US EPA standards. They do not exceed it. So the state of Ohio is actually below the highest standards that are issued in other states. The state of Ohio is lax in those regulations.